Welcome to the Lust for Life podcast, where Jake and I just reflect on our weeks and different discussions we've had. As you probably noticed, we did not have an episode last week because we were traveling home from Panama City, so tired from our Ironman, so we did not record one. So we're recording it this week. We just took so long to recover, and it's Sunday, so we did our Ironman. It was last Saturday, so a little over a week ago, and we're still just recovering, but it was just a lot of fun, and we just really want to recap on it because it was a core memory for us. And yeah, Jake, when did we start training? I was in March, wasn't I?
Probably. That's probably when we schemed it up, or even
8 months. I was training for 8 months pretty much for this.
Yeah, I didn't start
maybe 7
till really June. You started in March, or was it May?
March, April. It may have been April.
Yeah, because I got
It was April.
I came back.
So I trained for 6 or 7
Yeah,
months.
it was in April because I came back from a bike ride, and I'm like, hey, we need to go do Florida. I looked it up, saw the date, and you're like, yeah, that'd be fun. Because we had such a fun time.
we were sitting in the kitchen, and you were like, could I ever convince you to do an Ironman? I go, no.
That was like a lot of months ago. Just scheming.
And I was like, you will never convince me to do an Ironman. And he goes, are you sure? Or I don't know. And then you said something like, well, if we did it in Florida, the water would be clear. I'm like, okay, as long as the water is clear, I can do it.
Day. I just remember saying, like, we had so much fun. Like, our relationship got so much stronger doing the Wilmington one together. We should do
the Wilmington
this.
Marathon.
Yeah, the Wilmington Marathon. Like, we should do the Florida Ironman together. And then I was like shocked. You're just like, yeah, okay. Because I think we talked about it earlier then.
My biggest thing I remember saying to you was, is the water clear? Because I remember when I was little and I tried to swim in Lake Powell and it was murky. That was the only panic attack like I've really ever had. And it was when the water was murky and I couldn't see anything and I freaked out. So that was my one thing was
That's
the
right.
water needs
because
to be
I had
clear.
all pictures of Panama City Beach pulled up.
Yeah. But yeah, that was like 6 or 7 months ago. You probably put in a good 5 or 6 months of
Well,
training.
I didn't start training because I did
the pull-ups.
I did some biking. I got out of my cast in April. I really didn't start running till June. I did some maybe into May, but I did some biking in May. But I was working on that pull-up record that I got at the end of May. So yeah, it was about June when I started.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, long journey. The Ironman was on Saturday, November 2nd. So I drove all day with Lucy on Wednesday. Got to Panama City Wednesday evening. Watched the Yankees get their tushes handed to them.
That was so bad.
It was
the 5th inning of Game 5. It was so bad.
Yeah, really bad. And then Thursday, I checked in. Jake was still here. He took a test Friday at school. Oh my gosh, yeah. He got on a flight. You explain it. It was nuts.
I had a test Friday morning at 8, and then I think my flight took off. I can't remember what time, but not a lot of time. Like, I had one of my good friends. The second our test got over, I had him drive me to the airport. And so I got there. Tennessee brought all my stuff down, and all I had was just my backpack and like a toothbrush that I had to bring. So I got there and like hustled through TSA. Got there maybe like 5 minutes before they started boarding. So it was like fine. But then I picked the seat ahead of time where I'd be right next to the door on the plane, like as close as I could be to getting off first. I was that guy when the seatbelt sign went off. I jumped up and like sprinted up to the door. I was still like 5th in line because I get to Atlanta, which is like the biggest airport or the busiest airport in the world. We landed on one side of the airport. My next flight was taken off on the other end of the airport, and I had 20 minutes before like the doors closed. And so
we didn't even expect that much time.
Yeah. And so the door opens for me to get off the plane. So I'm like sprinting up the walkway from the plane to the airport. And then I get there, I pass in like the workers, and I get to the top, and a worker starts yelling, sir, I haven't even opened the door yet. And like I had to wait for him to then walk up. I guess he had to unlock the door still from the outside to get in.
On the gangway or something?
Yeah, it was interesting. So then I get in, start hustling through the airport. I get on an escalator, And now this time the shuttle in the Atlanta airport runs every 10 minutes because it's during like lunchtime. And so if I didn't make that shuttle, I would have to run from one end to the other end of the airport, which was it was like a mile and a half from the T to F terminal. And so I'm like praying I can make this because, I mean, it's the day before the race. I don't want to have to sprint a mile right now. And the train takes over 5 minutes to get from one end to the other. So I'm like going down the escalator. It's packed. I can't run anymore. I hear the ding of the train just barely show up. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so then I ran, got down to the bottom. I did that little like sideways shimmy skirt thing through the door as the door is closing. I like am getting on the train as the door is closing. Like, God was all over that, timed it perfectly, got on, made it right when I'm walking up to my gate. When I got off the train in Atlanta, it says, all right, last call for everyone boarding this flight to Panama City. I'm like, oh my gosh. So barely made it. Barely. That was crazy start.
Yeah, and then you got to Panama. I picked you up Friday. He missed all of check-in. That was supposed to happen Thursday. It was mandatory, but they were nice and let him do it all Friday. So we barely made it to the end of the check-in that they were allowing for him. And so we got him checked in. And then, yeah, Friday, we didn't sleep the best. Just a little antsy for the race the next day. Because
Tennessee went out and did the swim practice, and the waves were like 3 times her height. And then everyone's taking pictures online at the pier of there's like a herd of I don't know if it's a herd or what you call it, but like a ton of sharks in the water, a ton of jellyfish in the water. So like, I'm just thinking like, I'm not going to be able to finish this. Like, I didn't think I'm not going to be able to finish this swim. I was just thinking like, this swim is going to be brutal. Because Tennessee went out and swam, and her time was like,
it was so slow.
So slow. Because it was just such bad conditions. And I guess someone got...
I mean, I wasn't trying to push it, but I wasn't like... I was putting some wattage out, too.
Yeah, so I was nervous about that. I had a hard time sleeping.
But yeah, the race morning came. We were really chilling in transition, and we realized, oh, the swim is starting, like, right now. So we, like, ran to and my parents came in last minute, so they were here supporting us, which was really, really fun. My mom used to do Ironmans, and so it was fun to have her support us, and it was probably fun for her to see this again, the environment. But we ran to the swim start, and it was so chaotic. They are supposed to do a staggered start, so you estimate what your time will be, and you kind of jump in with that group, and then every 3 to 5 seconds, they send out 5 athletes. And Jake and I just got lost in the midst of everybody. Everybody looks the same because everyone has their swim caps on. And we didn't even get to say goodbye.
I know, it was so sad.
Actually so sad. Like, we were like getting a little nervous, like, oh my gosh, we're about to start. And we didn't even get to say goodbye to each other. And I knew Jake was so nervous for the swim. And I just wanted to tell you, like, good luck and you got this. But I was really sad I couldn't see you. And I got a little worried. But Jake killed the swim. He did really, really good. But the swim was just 2 laps around the pier.
Not just around the pier. You go like 3 times the distance.
You go like at least 2 times. Yeah, you go way past the pier. 2 laps and
2.4 miles.
Yeah. Okay. So the swim is 2.4 miles. You bike 112 miles, and then you swim or run 26.2. So a marathon. But my swim, it was like I put a lot of effort into the swim. I got pretty much the time I thought. I got 1 hour and 10 minutes, which was pretty much what I estimated I would get, given the conditions of the water. And I only got stung by a jellyfish on my foot once, but I know a lot of people, like on the bike, somebody told me they got stung right in the face, but there were jellyfish below you, like maybe like 5 or 10 feet below you. There's these white blobs, and like a lot of them too. And those were jellyfish. And I was like, oh my gosh, don't freak out. But there were lots of jellyfish. And yeah, what about your swim, Jake? Jake had a great swim. He's super proud of his swim.
Yeah, I'm stoked about it. Well, I'm like waiting in line because like Tennessee said, you start based off of how well you think you'll finish. And so I thought I was going to finish in like the 140 to 150, hour 40, hour 50 range. So I'm like at the back. And for some reason, no one like lined up. You have 2 hours and 20 minutes to finish it. And so no one really like lined up behind me no one thought they'd be slower than that. So there was literally no more than 20 people behind me. So I had about like I don't know, like 40 minutes to wait before I had to start swimming, because like Tennessee said, they just do like 4 swimmers at a time just can go. So just sat in line, me and everyone else in line, we were all nervous. No one thought they were going to finish. Everyone was nervous that they weren't going to make the swim cutoff, but met a really cool guy in line. His name's Scott. Chatted with him the whole time, and we just kind of eased each other's nerves and just hyped each other up and said, well, yo, we put in the work, like we're going to be able to get it. Swim went great for me. That was the best swim I've ever had in my life. Like I just went and I just started swimming. I'm like, wow, I'm going like pretty fast right now, and I feel so calm. Like I'm not even getting my heart rate up, and there's like no current either, like in the ocean. If anything, you were like going like well, at one point
there was a little bit,
but nothing to like change, and it's a loop, so it's like you're going against it when you're going with it too.
And the conditions were better than the day before. I still wouldn't say they were perfect, but they were better than the day before from going to practice swim.
But I was like stoked looking down at my watch. I'm like, there's no way I'm going this fast. Finished my first lap and I'm like, I'm flying. Like at that point, I'm like, this is going to be a good day. Like I am cruising right now. And then my second lap went good. Ate a lot of salt water. Nothing else really crazy happened. I mean, our necks chafed a ton. Like they were all cut up from the wetsuits.
My armpits chafed so bad.
But after the swim, then you go to the bike, and I finished my swim, and I'm like, I finished like 30, 40 minutes ahead of my like goal time. So I'm like, I have time to kill. I'm like, I'm in no rush right now to get to the bike. I'm like, I don't want to start a bike with a high heart rate. I'm like, I'm just going to take my time. The transition was like a half mile, and I don't know why I just walked the whole thing. And so my first transition took me 12 minutes. But I just think I'm like, okay, I kind of have some time saved up. I don't want to start the bike with a high heart rate. I kind of want to try to rest a little going into it. So that's why I walked, but that chewed up a lot of time.
I don't think it was bad. Like keeping your heart rate low is important. My heart rate definitely spiked to like the 180s in the swim because I was just pushing so hard. What was your time in the swim?
It was like 1:23.
Yeah, nice. That was so good. I did not know at this point how Jake was doing. I was so worried the whole bike because I'm like, oh, I hope Jake does good. I hope Jake does good.
And still, I was like over 100th place in my division on the swim, but I'm still so stoked about it because for me, like,
that's a big deal.
That was a big deal for me. Like, I really didn't know how to swim. Like, my swimming consisted of I jumped off a cliff into a lake in the Uintas, and then I would swim to shore.
Yeah.
Like, I'd jump off the diving board, and I'd swim to the side of the pool. Like, I didn't really know how to swim, so I put a lot of work into it, and I was scared of the ocean and everything, so I was stoked. I was so proud of myself just for being able to finish.
And when we were taking off our wetsuits, they knew the drill. Like, I unzipped it halfway, kind of got it on my waist, and there were 3 people. They had me, like, get all the way on my back, and they just whipped my wetsuit right off. Like, half a second. Yeah. Like, it was off. And then we were off to the races. I did run through transition, and my feet were, like, raw from running a half mile on the asphalt. So I got to transition, and you have to go through this tent you grab your bag, and then you go through this tent, and there's a bunch of volunteers there, and you just change into your bike kit. And, like, I just had my tri-suit on, but some people changed, but I didn't. And you just put all your swim stuff in the bag, and then they take it, and then you just go grab your bike, and you have to run it out of transition until there's like a mount spot where you can now get on your bike. And I could not find my bike. It probably took me like 30 extra seconds. Like, I could not find my bike anywhere. And my bike is all black, so it looks like every single other bike. But I eventually found it, and then got to the mount area, got on my bike, and then took off. And my heart rate was probably still pretty high at this point. But the bike we gained 2,000 feet, but there was a massive headwind. And it was a big headwind. And the first 5 miles of the bike, I was cooking. I was maybe averaging, I have to look exactly, but probably 23 miles an hour. And my legs started to cramp. And I've never, ever, 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 ever had this happen. Coming into the race, my IT band has been irritated. My knee was hurting, so I didn't exercise the last 2 or 3 weeks before the race because of that. But none of my training did I ever cramp. It was my adductors, so my inner thigh, and they cramped so bad. And I got to the point where I was like, the 3 letters were flashing through my brain because it was so painful. I was like,
Tell them what the 3 letters are.
yes, the did not finish, DNF. And it was just so painful. And I was like almost in tears at this point. I was probably only going like 15, 16 miles an hour. And I was like, where is Jake? Because Jake was behind me. And I'm like, I can't wait for Jake to come up and pass me and we can just finish this race together. And I was so sad because it hurt so bad. They were cramping so bad. And I genuinely said like a prayer to God, and I was like, please help me. Like, I am in so much pain right now. I've never had this happen before at all. I just am getting passed left and right on the bike. And seriously, like, as soon as I said that prayer at mile 30, like maybe 1 minute after the prayer, my legs warmed up and were completely fine. My heart rate, I think during that 30 miles was probably like 130, like super low. But after my cramps went away, I just started cooking. And at the end of the bike, I ended up at like 21 miles an hour, 20.7, 20.8, but averaged about 21 miles an hour. So coming from that deficit of the 30 miles, I was cooking the rest of the bike. But the biggest thing that was really sweet was there was this guy that could tell I was in the dumps. I was so sad. And his name was Paul, and he was an older man, and he was like, come on, let's pass this next person together. Like, he could tell I was struggling, and we passed that next person together. And then after that, like we stayed together for a lot of the ride, and it was just nice to have a friend a little bit on the ride. And there were definitely some cheaters, drafters, and they would just hang out on your tail because the headwind was so bad. And there was a massive peloton right by me the whole time, and they kept trying to draft off me the whole time. And I shared some words with them, and I think they got the hint. They were not American, but I think they got the hint, and they mostly stayed off my tail, but I was not having it. But yeah, the bike, I was totally fine. I wore these long sleeves. So every time I got to an aid station, I just drenched myself in water. So it kept me really, really cool. And my hydration and my nutrition was all perfect on the bike. But I overall was happy with my bike. I'm a little curious to know what it would have been if I didn't cramp at that first 30 miles. I think I would have been a really, really good bike. But overall, I'm happy with it. What about you, Jake?
Overall, I'm not happy with my bike. Like, I got out, though, and I started off, like, the first 60 miles were, well, I mean, my speed was good, but the rest wasn't good. Like, I came off, like I said, at the swim, I started the back. I still passed, like, over 400 people in the swim, but, like, biking is my strong part, so I'm, like, looking forward to it. So I get on my bike. It was actually funny at the start. At the mountain line, I swung my leg over the seat, and I knocked one of my water bottles off, and someone, like, yelled, Jake, your water bottle. And so I looked back, and I'm like, oh, I would have left it. So rough start, but then I went, and I'm like, I'm feeling so good right now, but I'm like, I gotta just go slow, pace myself. But then, like, 10 miles in, I'm like, I am so nauseous right now, and I think it's because I swallowed a decent amount of salt water from the ocean that I was just nauseous. And then, but I was still feeling really good. Like, I was averaging, I think, like 22, 23 around this point, and I'm like, pace yourself, be good, and I'm like, I feel great. Kept going, and then my bike, it's a little too small for me.
Yeah, it's one size too small.
And it's a road bike, so I bought these like $30 aero bars off of Amazon and screwed them on the handlebars. And so I'm in aero, but it's too small, so I'm like super scrunched up. And for the most part, this course is like flat. You could be in aero for like the whole ride if you
I was in aero 98% of that ride.
Whereas in Chapel Hill, like, you're going like from aero to normal, just depending on the hills. So I've never really been just in aero like for 5 hours before. So like at mile like 30 or 40, just my whole like upper body just got so tight and crampy, and I just got like a raging headache now at this point. So anytime I went aero and like tried to look up, just like this huge head, it was so bad. But I'm still going good at this point. But then with the nausea, it was so hard to like eat and get the calories in. Like, I just didn't do good from a nutritional standpoint. And then I think I planned like water for how it is on the like 50-degree days here in Chapel Hill. It was 81 degrees there and humid, and so it was a lot hotter, and we haven't been used to riding in the heat. And so I was looking back, I'm like, wow, okay, I was pretty dehydrated also with this. Just a lot went wrong early on, but I was still doing good. Like, I'm like, okay, this sucks, but I'm keeping pace to like, oh, this was funny. At mile 30, my rear water bottle holders are giving me so many problems. And so I look behind, and I see in my shadow that my water bottle is like horizontal. I'm like, what in the world? My water bottle holder, the top screw came out because the roads were so like...
The roads were like sand... What are they called?
I don't know.
But like the sandpaper roads.
Like
what are they?
gravel. It was just not... It wasn't real gravel.
Like chipped or something. I can't remember what it's called. It's a cheap road. It's not a nice smooth road.
It's the kind where... That is the last road you would ever want to ride on a skateboard.
Yeah.
Or a scooter. And it's the kind, like, at one point, like, because it was vibrating so much, my arms started getting, like, super, like, itchy and everything just from how much it was vibrating with how bad the road was.
And that takes a lot of wattage from you, a lot of speed from you if you're fighting the road.
So it unscrewed my screw and popped it out, turned my water bottle sideways. I reached behind to get it, because it's not just water, it has, like, my carb mix in it, too. So now I'm having to hold this water bottle with me. And
because it's a good water bottle.
And I don't know, you can't throw trash on the side of the road. True. I wanted to be respectful, and so this was at mile 30, so I had 10 miles to go to the next aid. No, actually, this was at mile 34. I got 16 miles to go to the next aid station, so I just like held it, and or it would have been at 24 because I had to go to 40. So then it was at mile aid station 40. I hurried and just like did the huge water bottle swap and threw that one away. That was a pain. But then at mile 60 to 70, it's just like 1 to 2% incline. And you have this massive headwind. And it's like for 10 miles, this steady incline on this terrible road. And that's just what took it out of me. That was it. I looked to the side, though, and I saw Tennessee, because it was an out and back, flying down the downhill, cruising back. And I'm like, go Tennessee! Everyone around me just, like, looked at me, and I'm just, like, yelling at her on the side of the road.
I did not hear him. Yeah. It's hard with all the wind. But I was looking for him in his red helmet, but I did not see him. I was sad.
Did other people not have red helmets? Was I the only one?
There were a lot of other red helmets, but, I mean... Black helmet's definitely the most popular.
But anyway, I don't know why. I think just the combo of the dehydration, the headache, the nausea, my nutrition didn't go as planned, just being so crunched on the bike. Once I got to the top of the hill at mile 70, I was like, I don't know what happened. Like, my average splits, you can see, dropped from like 21, 22 miles an hour to like 17 during that time or something. It was so bad. But then, like, I actually had to stop at the top. Like, I was not doing good. So I stopped at the top of the hill at the aid station. I, like, had to eat a little, like, they had a granola bar, but I was so dehydrated. I had to drink so much water in order to get that down. I was having a hard time breathing, so I had to take some inhaler shots. But then I got on and I went down. I started feeling good. Again, I think my next, like, few splits were it was downhill, and then we would have had a tailwind at that point. But they were in the, like, low 20s, like, around 21-ish, I think. But then, man, once you hit mile, like, 90, it was just, that last was so bad. It was cool. Like, I still, like, passed, I mean, relative to the field, I did really well on the bike. Like, I passed no less than 500 people on the bike. But for me, it was terrible. Like, I should have been so much faster. And there was, like, a weird place in the bike course where...
Oh, my gosh.
You have to... One, they had you go behind the Publix parking lot. And there's,
with
like,
speed bumps.
2 or 3 speed bumps in the trail. You're like, what in the world?
Yeah.
And so
I took a lot of speed.
Yeah. Then there's you make this sharpest, like, 90-degree, maybe even 100-degree turn into this, like,
makeshift sidewalk, plastic, slippery.
It's like they covered sand with these, like, plastic boards, so it's, like, super slick. Tons of people were crashing there. Yeah. Someone crashed and had to go and get, like, spine surgery that night too. It was bad. But then you, like, go on these, like, plastic boards over the sand. Then it pops you out onto a boardwalk
So like wood, slick wood. So you're going like maybe 10 miles an hour.
Yeah, it
like,
was so weird.
For like a quarter mile too. Like it took a lot of...
Maybe longer than that.
Maybe even longer. It took a lot of speed out of you. I was like, I don't know. Couldn't have done one more out and back. Like, we couldn't have gone out just a little bit farther.
But then you pop out of that weird section. You still have like 10 miles to go. I remember saying to the guy, I went and I passed this guy, and I'm like, 10 more miles, man, we got it. And he just looked, I thought I was going bad, but that dude looked like death. And I just like left him. But then I'm like, how are we 10 miles away from the transition right now? And it's just down a straight road. And that was so bad. My average dropped to like 16 because I had like nothing left on the bike. I'm so disappointed that it just took everything out of me. And my chain had way too many miles on it, so I was like praying that it was not going to snap, and like I didn't like settle down until I had like a mile left, because I'm like, okay, if it snaps here, then I could at least walk a mile back to transition. But man, that bike, I'm so disappointed in it. Like it was so rough. But like from the relative to my age group, I did the best on the bike, but for me, I did the worst. Like I'm so disappointed in it.
But I kind of wonder, like, if I cramped, like, if it honestly saved me and I didn't burn because of it. It allowed me to kind of warm up into the bike a lot more. Like, I wonder if that was honestly, like, a grace from God that I didn't just blow up on the bike. Because the section at the end, the last 10 miles, I was hauling cheeks. I was going, like, 28 miles an hour down that road.
That's
like,
awesome.
the highway.
Yeah.
And I felt good. I was, like, passing people. And so I kind of wonder if, like, I would have burned if I did not cramp. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know.
Everyone, like, struggled on the bike. Like, looking back on what everyone was writing on, like, the Facebook page or the Reddit page after, and just, like, talking to people the next day, everyone, like, struggled on the bike. There was throw up on the side of the road. Like, people were not... It was a rough one.
Yeah. I don't know. I actually enjoyed the bike out of all of it, which is interesting.
I just think I trained and I planned for a 50-degree day in Chapel Hill, not a 81-degree day in Panama City.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is what got me. And again, like, I just never really trained that well of biking right after a swim. Like, I think the swim might have took a little more out of me than I anticipated.
Yeah, probably. Well, we can go to the run. The run was it was along the beach, kind of. There was, like, a road that just went right along the beach. And you went out, back, so 2 loops, and it was scorching at this point, and it was so hot.
81 degrees.
I felt totally fine the first 13 miles, but as soon as I hit 14, my mom, like, ran with me for a second, and I was like, yeah, she did. And I was like, I don't feel good. Like, I am...
How far did she run with you?
Maybe, like, 100 feet.
Oh, I didn't know she ran with you.
But I was like, I am so insanely nauseous right now. And she's like, you got it. And just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And my stomach just was hurting so bad. And so at mile 14, I needed to go to the porta potty and just release some type of pressure in my stomach because it was so upset. And so I just sat in the porta potty for a second and really contemplated my decisions of racing a little bit. And then I just decided, okay, get out and just start putting one foot in front of the other. I gave myself like 0.2 miles to walk. And one of the spectators started walking with me, and you got this. Like, he walked with me for a while.
That's awesome.
A while. And I was like, thanks, thank you. And then after that, I never walked. I mean, I started walking barely through the aid stations. And then after that, once I got through the aid station, I started running again. But I briskly walked through the aid stations. And every aid station, which is so interesting, they had buckets, like kiddie pools of ice water, like literally ice in water. And I had a hat, and every time I'd go to aid station, I would get my whole hat and get a ton of ice and just put it right over my head. And it was so interesting because my heart rate would be like 160 because I really needed to keep it low. As soon as I dunked my head, it literally physiologically shocked my heart and immediately brought it to like the 130, 140s. Like, it restarted my heart. It was the
craziest thing.
It is weird. Did you notice that?
Yeah, it happened to me also.
Yeah, you just get that water and you just put it right on your head, and it literally, like, I don't know if it's was it vagus nerve? I don't know. But it just resets your heart rate. And you need that at that point to your heart rate to still slow the frick down. And then I would, I don't know. It was just a sufferfest at the end. It truly is. Who can slow down the least to win the race? And it was just one foot in front of the other, so nauseous. And then coming into the finish was super fun. They had little fireworks every time someone, little flares every time someone came across the finish line. And it was just so fun to see my mom there and my dad there and my little sister. And I was so wrecked though. I was so tired. And there was a bell that you ring if it's your first time finishing an Ironman. And I just ran straight past it. I was like, nope, I've just got to finish this race. I cannot do this anymore. And I just went and finished. And a lot of people asked me after the Ironman, I was like, did you cry at the end? How was it emotional? And I was like, to be honest, I literally had nothing left. I didn't even have the energy to have hold a conversation with somebody. I did not have any emotions. I was just so tired. And they have all this food in the finish line area.
I was expecting it when she's like, oh, go back and get your food. I was just expecting it to be snacks.
No, it's pizza, fries, pretzels, you name it. I just grabbed a Sprite and went and sat down. I didn't even drink it. I just went and sat at the table. And then my parents came by, but I was wrecked. But what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. On the bike, there was these drafters that tried to draft off me the whole time. I mentioned it before. I was so fed up with this girl drafting. I literally said, 206, if you keep drafting, I'm turning you in at the next referee tent or penalty tent. And I don't even know if they spoke English. But I saw her on the run, and she was, because I passed them on the bike. I was so determined not to let them beat me on the bike, because I was like, oh, a bunch of cheaters. And I saw her on the run, and I was just so motivated. I'm like, I cannot let her pass me. No. So I was just so happy she didn't pass me. I was like, nope, I'm not letting them pass me. So, I mean, that was it in a nutshell. There was a lot more emotions to it, but I've never felt that level of nausea. And when I got to the hotel right after I raced, because our hotel was right there, we passed our hotel 7,000 times during the race. I literally, not even kidding you, this is TMI, but there was blood in my stool. And it's just called colitis, exercise-induced colitis, and it's ischemic colitis, yeah. When blood is diverted from your intestines for so long, your intestines literally start to break down. And that's what happened to me. And so we need to figure that out for next race. But that was my run. What about yours, Jake?
Yeah, and you did really well. You finished good. It was fun. I saw Tennessee a few times, and she looked worse and worse and worse as the times went on. Because it was out and back, so we passed each other, and I'm like, how are you doing? And thumbs down. I'm like, oh, no.
I didn't even say anything. I just put a thumbs down. I was like, I can't stop. I can't do anything. I'm going to throw up. I just got to keep going. Oh, I forgot to also mention, sorry. My lips and mouth and lower face were tingling. I was so close to passing out, I think. I really just had to focus on breathing. My fingers were all tingling. My face was tingling. And I was kind of getting waves of dizziness. And I was like, oh no, I just got to keep going or I'm going to pass out. So that's why I did the thumbs down, because everything was just tingling my tongue. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah, my run, so I got to the bike transition, and I was just so upset at my performance. The people asked me, because the volunteers were awesome. So they were grabbing my run transition bag, thinking I'm trying to save as many seconds as possible. But no, I'm just trying to chill for a second. But I was so upset, I couldn't even talk. So what number are you? And I just held up my helmet to show the 914. I'm I ain't speaking right now. I'm so upset. Sat there for a little. Normally I always eat all this naan bread before I start running, and I feel so good. But I was so dehydrated. I just couldn't eat it. I couldn't swallow it. So I was trying to get some water in, and I still even drank a ton of water on the bike. My Garmin watch after said it estimated I lost 21 liters of sweat. and I probably only took in like 7 liters during the bike. But then even like after, and I normally always have like my bowels are a little different, like just trying to run right off the bike
upset.
and just, yeah, a little upset. And with all the sugar from all the carb mix you're taking, I didn't have to go to the bathroom once. I went pee once, but I didn't have to go to the bathroom at all. And then after, I even chugged, no joke, like 5 or 6 of those huge liter bottles. And I didn't even have to go pee the rest of the night. Like my body was so messed up. But anyways, so I'm just like, that bike took everything out of me. I'm just wrecked already at the start of this run. Still have a massive headache, still super nauseous.
And now you got to go run a marathon.
And now I have to go run a marathon. So I'm just sitting there in transition like, oh my gosh. I'm like, okay, I can't sit anymore. I at least need to start walking and like, let's get this over with. So I walked out, saw Tennessee's parents, stopped and talked with them for too long, probably looking back. But I'm like, I'm just trying to finish at this point. So like any of my ideas of goal time are just like out the window right now. And my only goal was to finish. So left them, walked probably the first half a mile. And then I'm like, hey, let's just do it. And like Tennessee said, it's a suffer fest. That's literally...
Like, everyone looks miserable.
Yeah, you just literally take it. Tennessee's mom always told me, just take it one aid station at a time. And that's what I did.
The truth.
I just had to run to one, because you get so overwhelmed.
It's every mile.
26.
Aid station is every mile.
Yeah, and so I would just run to one, then I would walk through it, eat some pretzels, drink a lot of water, dump the cold water on my head, and then I would run to the next one, and then just repeat that pattern 26 times. But then, like, whenever I saw someone I knew, or like the people spectating, sometimes I stopped and just talked with them for a little bit. So I was in no rush during the run. I probably couldn't even have gone faster even if I didn't stop and talk that much. But then, I was the late crew. Then all of a sudden the sun goes down and the sun sets. My goal ahead of time too was like, I would like to finish before it gets dark outside. So they're having to blast all these like big lights, these like floodlights all come out now. And I don't have...
Don't they hand you a glow stick?
Some people had some.
Okay.
I didn't get one. My sunglasses are prescription. I assumed I would finish before the sun goes down, so I didn't have any other glasses on.
Couldn't see anything.
So I'm just rocking with my sunglasses on, and I got multiple comments about, yeah, sunglasses at night, yeah, and like it was so dark, but I could still see better than if I didn't have them on. But then it gets dark, they start pulling out like soup for everybody if you want it, but I'm like, I just am trying to finish. Still just like guzzling water and pretzels, doing my big routine. And then I get to mile like 24 and I'm like, I need to walk. So I walked all of mile like 24 to 25, started running again. I'm like, hey, I got a mile left. I can do this. I made it like 0.2 miles and I'm like, I am going to throw up if I take another step running. So then I walked a little, tried to run again. I'm like, I walked again till maybe, I don't know, 25.6 or something, and then I'm like, I'm done. And so then I just ran to the finish. But it got to the point, like Tennessee said, it was a suffer fest. Like literally, like
who slows down the least.
Yeah, I just got to the point, like, what else are you gonna throw at me? Like, I did not envision their like ever ending the suffering. I'm like, if they made me do 1,000 push-ups before I could cross the finish line, I'd be like, okay, let's do it. Like, what's after that? Like, what's next? Just one thing at a time. Like, that's the point it got to. But no, I then made it, and so went down the finish line. There's this bell.
Jake rang the bell that I passed.
The first time bell, because at this point, I'm just enjoying it. I'm just trying to take it all in and have a good time. So I see the bell, I get down, and I ring it, and then something just happened. Like, all of a sudden, just all the energy came over me, and I just rang the snot out of that bell. Like, I've never rang a bell before. Got so hyped, and I was so happy to be done.
He rang that bell and then jumped up and down with his arms, getting the crowd yelling, and ran through the finish.
That was probably the fastest I ran, was after I rang the bell.
Probably.
But yeah, it just felt so good to sit down and just eat and drink water after. But I was so happy to be done. That was...
It was rough. But it was a good experience.
Yeah, it was cool, like... On the run, it was really cool because it's the out and back. And it was
cool to see everybody.
Yes.
Like, see everyone's faces. Like, you could see it because it was out and back. So you saw everyone's faces. And you're like, everyone's suffering. Like, so am I.
Like, at the start, I got to see the, like, first place male.
Yeah.
Maybe, like, 2 miles before the finish. So I got to see him.
Yeah.
And then right before I went to the finish, I saw like some of the last people like getting off the bike to start the run. So I got to see like almost everybody on the run. And yeah, like Tennessee said, everyone is just like,
they're hurting
and everyone's suffering. And like I noticed like if I was in the groups where everyone was like kind of like walking or slowing down, I tended to like walk and kind of slow down a little bit. But then if I'm with a group where like people are passing me, I'm like, okay, like I can do this. I'll pick it up. Nothing is more humbling than getting passed by literally like a 60-year-old woman. Like nothing against 60-year-old women, but I feel like I'm a fit like 27-year-old man, and just having them just blow past you on the run, you're like, what's going on? Like,
yeah. No, it was good. A good experience. I remember the first thing I think I said, because I did win my age group, and that gives me like an automatic qualification for Kona next October. And I knew I'd won my age group. But the first thing I said when I finished the line, and it was to my parents, I was like, nah, I'm not doing Kona.
Wait, how did you
I'm not doing that again.
When did you find out that you won your age group?
My mom kind of told me when I was running. She's like,
Okay.
you're in first. Just keep your pace, and you'll for sure get it, or whatever.
Okay.
And so I knew I had gotten it.
Yeah, I was thinking too, like
But,
on my
yeah.
run, I was like, this sucks. I'm never doing this again. I started laughing like, Tennessee's got to do this again in Hawaii.
Yeah. And like I think the first words I said was, I'm not doing this again. This sucks. But ruthlessly, the next morning, if you want to go race in Hawaii, you have to sign up the next morning. So I hadn't even been done with this race for more than 12, 15 hours before I had to pay $1,600 for the next race in Kona. And I'm like, at this point, I still didn't want to do it. But I'm getting a little bit more excited for it, I think. But yeah, super excited for it. But in the moment, I did not want to do it. But this was part of the whole weekend. That night, because you're so jacked up on, Jake didn't take any caffeine.
We haven't even gotten to the
meat of it.
We haven't even gotten to the hardest part yet.
Yeah. I had so much caffeine, and your body is like in shock almost because of how long you've been exercising for. And like I had ischemic colitis, which actually can be a pretty critical condition if you aren't careful. And Jake obviously wasn't feeling good either. So we got literally 1 hour of sleep.
Like, that's not an exaggeration.
Not an exaggeration. Like, our Garmin's track it. We each got 1 hour. We were up and at 'em at 2:30 in the morning because we went to bed at like 1. We literally went to bed at like 1:30 and woke up at like 2:30.
Like, after, it was cool. Like, we got back and took Lucy out after we got back to the hotel. It's like 11:30. And we went out, and people are still grinding.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they have been going all day, like 17 hours.
17 hours.
And, like, we stayed out and cheered them on a little bit.
You think we had it hard.
They
are the real Ironman.
Yeah.
That's so impressive.
Anyone who finishes a full Ironman, like,
So
regardless
impressive.
of time, like, I'm so impressed.
Yeah, that says a lot. It says a lot. But so we slept we maybe slept 3 hours the night before the race. Maybe 4. We'll be safe and say 3 or 4. Then the race, and then the next night we literally slept 1 hour. We have not eaten anything. We just burned 8,000 calories. We both feel nauseous. The award ceremony is at 9 a.m. and you have to be there to claim your spot to race at Kona. And it lasted 2 hours. And we did not think it was going to last 2 hours. We thought it was going to, 30 minutes? 45 minutes? I thought it was just going to be quick. No, it lasted 2 hours in the sun. It's hot. We haven't eaten anything. And we had to get late hotel checkout. And Jake has to present. Jake realized just a few days before the race, we had to be back Monday morning. So the award ceremony, the race was Saturday, the award ceremony Sunday. And Jake has to be back Monday to present research at school. And we're like, oh boy. So we didn't even leave Panama City until what? 12:31?
Yeah, afternoon.
Afternoon, because we had to get late checkout. And Panama is, if you go straight through, 10 and a half, 11-hour drive to Chapel Hill. And we are so deadbeat tired. But we're like, we have to go. Like, Jake has to be home. And we joke that was the fourth discipline of the Ironman, is the travel day right after the Ironman.
Because everyone else is just all retired. Like
everyone's taking a vacation now. Everyone stays in vacations for the next couple days and relaxes, and we're like up and at 'em. Like, we gotta go.
Train full time. There's not very many people were back at it again on Monday.
No.
Probably less than 1%.
Jake and I'm like, we're both back at school on Monday. Anyway, so we start the drive, and we are not even 45 minutes in, and I am like so nauseous. Like, I can't even. Like, I am so uncomfortable. So we had to pull over at this gas station, and I am just sitting outside the car with this emesis bag ready to, like, toss anything that's not in my stomach. Like, I had nothing left in my stomach. But I was so sick. So we pulled over for, like, 45 minutes to an hour just sitting there at the gas station because I was so sick. And then Jake rearranged some stuff in the car, and we finally got my seat to lay down. Enough to where I could relax a little bit. So we finally got back in the car. We started driving. And we're in Alabama.
No, we maybe made it like 2 more hours and we had to do the same thing again.
Did we?
Yeah, we had to pull over twice for an hour.
I think I kind of remember. It's all a blur. But we're finally in Alabama, and I fall asleep for like 20 minutes. And I think...
Oh, wait, no, this is in Georgia.
Was it in Georgia?
Yeah, we're in Georgia.
No, it goes Alabama, Georgia.
Yeah, okay.
So we're in Alabama
first.
Gotcha. So I fell asleep for like 20 minutes, and I'm out for a solid 20 minutes. And I wake up and I'm like, Jake, I am trying to comprehend what's going on here. My pants are soaked. And I'm like, I did not wet myself. What is going on? And there's like these little like specks on my pants. And I'm like, Jake, what is going on? And I look down and I see Lucy on my, like, resting by my feet, and she looks like she is just so sick, like just laying there on her side, like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she had climbed up onto me and thrown up in my lap and then went back down and laid down. So now all three of us are so sick, so nauseous. No one has electrolytes in their body. We just are wrecked. And so naturally, I like pull off my pants because it's just puke on my pants. And I have no pants on at this moment. And we see a cop behind us, put its lights on. Yep. And he pulled us over. And I like whip and reach back and grab a blanket to at least like cover myself, because I had no pants on. And then, yeah, we got a speeding ticket. We were going like 20 over because we were trying to get home fast.
And we're not even to Atlanta at this point. We just barely crossed into Georgia.
We just barely crossed into Georgia.
And now it's like 6 o'clock.
It's like, and we like...
Past 6.
I don't even know if we exchanged any words. Like, he goes, you know, you're speeding? Yep. Goes and gets a ticket, sign here. We took the ticket, we left. Like, it was literally less than 3 minutes. And we didn't even care.
I've never been so unfazed by anything before.
We were so unfazed. Like, we have just been beat at this point. And then I'm sure we made a few more stops. And what time was it? 12?
It was
midnight.
Yeah, around midnight.
Midnight. We're still in South Carolina. We're still like 3 hours from home. More.
No, it was probably the 11s because we went and tried to sit down and eat for a little, or we stopped. What? When we got to Wendy's?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was probably like 11:30.
Oh, 11:30. Okay. But we are like still 3 hours from home, and I turned to Jake and I'm like, I need a Wendy's chili right now. That is the only thing I want, is a Wendy's chili. So we found a Wendy's chili. Like, we just stopped at a Wendy's, and as we were eating the chili, Jake took like 3 sips of his Frosty.
Yeah, I just wanted a Frosty. I'm like, that'll be good. And they accidentally made us 2 Frosties. I'm like, sweet. We get 2 Frosties for the price of 1. But I couldn't even make it 3 bites in one of them.
I didn't even want to taste it, but Jake only made it 3 licks and goes, I'm throwing this away. And then we sat there at the Wendy's and we're like, there's no way we can like start driving again right now. So we just slept in the parking lot for like an hour, crunched in the front seat.
We sat there for an hour, probably slept for like 15 minutes.
Yeah,
just because we were so crunched. I mean, you can't really sleep.
So crunched.
We had just a pistol in our laps just in case under the blanket. Like,
yeah, we like pulled over into. It was so funny. We like pulled into the area where all the trucks sleep, and we're like, well, we'll just sleep with them. We'll just sleep with all the little trucks. And it just reminded me of like the car scene when all the trucks are asleep at the stop, and we were like, anyway, it was really funny. But then we woke up and we're like, all right, we got this, because there's no way we could let one person drive. Like, at this point, both of us needed to be awake. Like, we both needed to drive. It took 4 eyes and 2 half brains to get us home. And what time did we get home?
3:30.
3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So the last 3 days, we had, let's be safe and save 5 hours of sleep.
And we just, like, oh, why didn't you just pull over, like, halfway there and then just, like, wake up early on Monday and sleep?
We could have done that.
We probably should have done that. We didn't want to because...
we got a speeding ticket. We were like, well...
There goes the hotel.
There goes the hotel.
But we just didn't want to have to, like... Our stuff in the car was chaotic.
We had so much stuff.
We would have had to unload the bikes...
Just because we had to disassemble all the bikes to get them to fit.
To leave those in the car and then like have to load it up, it would have been a pain. But we would have got some sleep.
We did say if we could go back, we would have done that. It was definitely not ideal, and like
that was our thinking. But as you can tell, we were running on a quarter brain each.
We were running off fumes.
We weren't really thinking that logically.
But we were smart enough to know that we both need to stay awake at this point, though, and we did.
I felt great after the nap.
I did not.
Yeah, then we got to bed at like 4:30.
4:35.
And then I just naturally woke up at 8:45. I'm like,
went to
all right. I wasn't planning on going to my class, but I'm like, all right, I'll go to my class at 10.
Because his research wasn't until like noon.
It was in the afternoon. So I'm like, well, I'll just show up
to
class and here we go.
I still feel like I got a little sick over the week though. Like, anyway. I'm still recovering, actually, I feel like. But that was pretty much it. Well, it was a really great experience, but we joke that the hardest part was the travel day after, which is probably true. I even turned to Jake while we were traveling back, and I was like, I think I'd rather be racing an Ironman right now. Not in the condition I was, but if I felt good, I'd be like, I'm so miserable, nauseous, and tired and hungry right now that I would be more comfortable racing an Ironman currently. But yeah, fun experience.
It was good. It was good, but like I've said multiple times, like every time I think about the bike part of it, I get so frustrated.
Jake might be doing another one.
Yeah, I was so upset about how poorly the bike did, like compared to how I should have done. Like for me, that was terrible. Like I should have been so much faster, like 3 miles an hour, 4 miles an hour faster than I did. That's like 45 minutes. That's like an hour faster on the bike portion.
I'm even a little I'm even a little upset with my bike too.
Yeah, and that would have been like if that could have set the pace for a better run. Instead, I just
kind of give you a little more motivation. Yeah.
So I just can't think about it without getting upset. So I'm looking at Ironman Texas in April.
Yeah.
And it's likely going to be a go. I've been emailing some people from the school.
You're already trained.
I'm already trained. It's only going to be just one rotation. It'll be in the middle of my pediatric rotation. And so that'll be tricky. So I'm just trying to figure out logistically if this is possible, because that's the only thing holding me back. Obviously, I wouldn't sacrifice my degree for an Ironman, but I have a fire burning inside me.
But maybe you will.
Maybe I will. I'm so upset about the bike, but so
no, it was just, I think it's extra special to recognize that we got to do it together. That's pretty cool that we as a couple got to train together, do it together. It brought us closer.
Yeah, I was so proud of Tennessee. Every time I saw, I almost started crying like on my run a few times. Like, I'm so proud of her. She's doing so good. I was so worried one time. I was trying to do the math. I'm like, okay, I should be passing Tennessee like within this mile, and I'm like, where is she? Like the next mile, I'm like, what's happening? And I'm like, oh no, I hope she's okay. And then I saw you, and then you gave me a thumbs down. I'm like, oh my gosh, Tennessee, you have like 2 miles left. You can do it.
No, I was struggling at the end, but I also think like it's important to recognize like I had so many blessings throughout that race, like so many gifts from God. That my cramps went away. My leg cramps went away. B, that Paul kind of like, come on, let's do it. Let's do this together. Like that I was blessed with like some friends on the bike, some really nice people on the bike. And there were just so many others on the run too. Like as soon as I finished, like, we were starting to walk home from the hotel, and I was like, we have an emergency, like, right now. Like, I need to use the restroom right now. And that was right after I finished. Like, thank goodness I didn't have to have that urgency when I was racing. Because once you get that urgency to need to go to the bathroom, you have it so many times, if that makes sense. So there were so many things that, like, God's hand was definitely in that day, kept us safe. And, like, I was just purely grateful that I was able to race, because I genuinely, the couple weeks leading up to the race, I did not think I'd be able to race because my IT band was so bad. And I was so grateful just to be able to race and finish the race, and that Jake and I both finished in good health is truly a blessing. And just God's hand was all over that. And right now I'm just doing a lot of physical therapy on my IT band because it's a little angry with me. But yeah, lots of blessings from God during that race.
Yeah, I agree. Just even being able to honestly toe the starting line was
Get to the starting line, yeah.
Huge. Just, I mean, a logistical nightmare with school to get there. And then, like you said, you had all your little injuries. I got out of a cast in April, and I had so many setbacks on the run. I only had like 4 runs in the double digits mileage. And so I was like, man, how is this run even going to go? So, like, I was just really worried about my foot, a lot of setbacks with that. And just, yeah, being able to just start was a big accomplishment that God's hand, like you said, was all over it.
Yeah. Well, that was fun to do it with you. That's pretty much it for the Ironman. We publish these every Tuesday, just reflections of our weeks and discussions that we've had. We just have so many fun discussions that we like to record them and just save them as our fun way of journaling our lives. And every Tuesday we release these episodes, and we'll see you next week.